Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt and welcome back to another short war video, and today we have very big news coming out of Romania because we're hearing that a Russian drone has crashed on the territory of Romania, and remember, that country is a NATO member, so this was quite severe when this does happen. It's not the first time it's happened, but once again we're trying to figure out what the motive behind this was. Was it an accident or was it on purpose? And right now nobody's really sure, but Romania had to dispatch fighter jet aircraft to actually go out there and ward off any future attacks to make sure this was not going to happen once again right after the first one crashed. So quite a severe incident happening right now in Romania. And also on another front, we're hearing from the French that a NATO aircraft was just targeted by Russian air defense, and it's unclear if the Russians took a shot at the aircraft or maybe it was just simply locking on with target locks. We're not really sure just right now, but we're hearing that from the French, and of course that's another serious incident. And on another disturbing front, we're hearing in Belarus, the Belarusian government has started building fortifications on their border with Lithuania, causing fears within Lithuania that maybe something's about to go down between them and Belarus. And also we're hearing that the Iranian president is currently in Moscow meeting with Putin in an unprecedented meeting. But with that, we're jumping into our first article of the day, which goes to Nexta. And like I said, this is our biggest story of the day. And as we can see right here, Romania put fighter jets in the air overnight in response to Russian drone attacks on Ukrainian towns along the Danube River. And Romanian media is reporting that one of the drones may have crashed on Romanian territory. So once again, like I said, this is not the first time this has happened, but anytime it does happen, we have to figure out whether or not it was an accident or on purpose. And right now the investigators are taking a look at it, but considering the proximity of the borders here, it could most likely be an accident, but nobody really knows just yet. But as you can see right here in the photo, there is the explosion right across the river on Romanian territory. Once again, a NATO state with a Russian drone exploding onto it, with Russia once again launching these very reckless attacks right next to the border and leading to events happening just like this. And it's always one step away from disaster, but there you go. We see fighter jets in the air to combat this within Romania. But with that, we're moving on to our next post here, and this one goes to Max24. And this post right here just gives us a little bit more context as to exactly what happened and where the area was. We can see right here that apparently it was the population of the northern Tulcea County that received an alert message regarding the possibility of objects falling from the sky, and explosions could be seen in the area on the Ukrainian bank of the Danube, and the MOD raised 2 fighter jets to monitor the situation, like I said in the last post, and traces of a possible crash drone were discovered in the area of Plaru. So once again, Plaru has been the site of these attacks before, so let's take a look exactly where that is to give you an idea of the proximity of this attack to Ukrainian territory. And as you can see right here on the map, there is the red dot showing the area of Plaru, literally right on the border of Ukraine and Romania. So zooming in here, you can actually see where that is, and there it is right here. Plaru is this little spot right here in the middle, if you can see my mouse cursor, and it's right along the border. So this is a place that has been attacked before, but last time it was actually the port of Reni, which is actually up here where the mouse cursor is right now. So it looks like they've moved down here a little bit near Izmail, which of course right across the border is Plaru inside of Romania. And as you can see right here, this is the alleged area where the Romanian investigators found that crash drone wreckage right here in Plaru. So not too far away from the Ukrainian town of Izmail, but right across the border of the Danube. So you can see that right there on the map, just to give you an idea of how close this is to Ukrainian territory. But with that, we're going to move on to our next story here, and this one goes to Alexandru C4. And moving away from our story about the Romanian NATO drone incident, we're seeing another very large story as well involving NATO forces yet again, and this one says a French patrol plane was flying over the Baltic Sea and was targeted by Russian air defenses in international airspace, and the announcement was made on Friday by the French military, and the defense minister, Sebastian, denounced an act of unacceptable intimidation by Russia, and the AFP and the Reuters agencies write about. So according to what we know right now, this was a routine NATO patrol which typically goes around the area of the Baltic Sea, and apparently either the Russian air defenses locked onto this aircraft with a target lock and triggered some type of warning in the cockpit, or they might have even taken a shot at it. This wording right here is actually very vague. I would tend to believe that the Russians did not take an actual pot shot at this aircraft, and it was most likely some sort of target lock of some sort. But as you can see right here, here's one of the radar dishes on top of these reconnaissance aircraft that typically fly through the area, and it was a French patrol plane that was targeted by the Russian air defenses. And right now we have so little details about it, I really can't even elaborate more on it, but we are hearing that this morning that was just reported by the French authorities. So quite severe also, in addition to the Romanian drone story. But with that, we're jumping into yet our next article, and this one goes to Geo Insider. So as we can see right here, Belarus has already started digging trenches near the border with Lithuania, and we have satellite photos to back that up. And also we're seeing that these trenches are allegedly for infantry and equipment, and they're appearing right on the edge of the Gazki military training ground in the Grodno region, and they are located just 6 kilometers from the Belarusian-Lithuanian border. And according to the Belarusian service of Radio Liberty, these fortifications may be part of the resistance hub that the Ministry of Defense promised to build a year ago, and the territory where these trenches are located located has a nature conservation status, and it belongs to a landscape reserve within Belarus. But as you can see right here in the photos, they are digging these trenches right along the Lithuanian border, and it makes you wonder, why are they doing this? It could be simply fortifications to ensure Belarus has national security, or it could be, since Belarus is a puppet state of Russia, that they are planning to potentially intimidate the NATO states or do something to them. We just simply don't know right now. But as you can see, they're building these fortifications right within a nature reserve and right on the border where satellite photos are picking them up, and once again alerting the NATO authorities. So this is up to speculation about what this is right now, but once again, Belarus is doing things actively on their border, which could be viewed as intimidation. But with that, we're moving on to our next post here, and this one goes to Nexta. And we have some more interesting news right here in this post. We're being told that the Iranian president has just arrived in Moscow on an official visit, and Vladimir Putin and Masoud will hold talks in the Kremlin today, following which they will sign a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty, reports Kremlin media. So this could be another attempt by Putin himself to actually go to the Middle East, and also like he went to North Korea, to try to secure more aid for Russia to continue their war effort, and it looks like he's turning to Iran for that help this time. And now he's invited the Iranian president straight to Moscow to have these talks. So let's take a look at the Iranian's plane flying into Moscow, just to give you an idea of what it looks like. It looks like they stopped using a helicopter, so that's probably a wise thing. But let's take a look at the video. And there it is right there, the Iranian state plane of some sort. I don't know what plane that really is right off the bat, but you can see the Iranian flag is on the tail section right there. But they're not using that helicopter anymore. I think that crashed a while back with the other guy on board. Unfortunate, but anyways, we are moving on from that post right there, and we're now moving on to our next post, which goes to Blaskovka. And we are learning about some Ukrainian successes today on the front lines and also behind the lines as well. We're being told by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine that they're reporting the successful defeat of the positions of the anti-aircraft battalion of the 568th Regiment of the Russian Army, and also a radar station at 92H6 of the S-400 complex was destroyed. So that's a big one right there. An S-400 complex apparently knocked out because the radar station was destroyed. That's always a big loss for the Russians. A lot of money lost right there. And also the missile launchers were also hit, and the equipment and machinery were damaged. So I'm sure the loss report today will be very beautiful, but as you can see, big losses for the Russians today, and the Ukrainians were knocking some more stuff out. But with that, we're moving on to our next post here, and this one goes to Null Reports. And you all might remember there was just a major fire in Voronezh the other day as the Ukrainians struck an oil depot there, and we're being told by Null Reports that apparently the oil depot fire continues to grow, and now it's engulfing 4 tanks. So you might see the common theme here. When a Russian oil depot catches on fire, it pretty much burns to the ground every single time. And it says reportedly there are no fire hydrants nearby, so the water must be transported by trucks, leaving little hope of extinguishing it soon, and Ukraine attacked the depot just 2 days ago. So let's take a look at the video and see the fire raging on even to this day after it was attacked literally over 2 days ago. So let's take a look. And look at that, we have a big fire right here. It looks like it's still raging, a very big fire. And look, there's an unexploded oil canister right there, a big barrel above the ground. That'll probably catch on fire next because it's literally right next to this inferno. So the whole place is about to burn down, in other words. And the Russians don't have a fire hydrant, so they're trucking in the water. And apparently they're trucking it in from quite some distance. It's not arriving fast enough. But with that, we're going to move on and stop staring at the smoke and move on to our next post, which goes to, apparently, Nexta. And if you watch our nightly streams, you might know that me and the Enforcer have been debating this situation for quite some time as well. And in this post from Nexta, we can see that the Kremlin does not expect a change in the U.S. position on the Ukrainian conflict, despite statements about readiness for dialogue, says Peskov. Once again, the Russians are sort of relegating the idea of negotiations to the waste bin, and it sounds like they're also tossing that to the side, and it sounds like the U.S. is starting to toss that to the side as well. It looks like Peskov just caught wind of the U.S. plan to destroy the Russian economy with sanctions, and he's not happy, Putin's not happy, and Mr. Horst Lavrov is not happy either. So they're all unhappy, and it looks like they're not going to talk maybe at all at this point. We're not really sure, but it sounds like they're sort of putting the water on this fire, unlike the other ones. But jumping into our next post here, this one goes to Euromaidan Press. And in this post, we're getting a very interesting prediction from the ISW, the Institute for the Study of War, and we're being told that all 12,000 North Korean troops in Kursk may be lost by April 2025. That's just a couple of months away. And since escalating to significant combat operations in December, the North Koreans have experienced substantial losses, averaging 92 casualties daily. So the North Koreans once again have been being used as meat shields by the Russian forces, and it looks like the ISW is expecting the Russians will exhaust all of them in just a couple more months, which actually that sounds like an accurate prediction because the North Koreans are not doing very well on the front lines, and the Russians are putting them in really bad positions and getting them taken out pretty quick. So they're probably not going to last much longer, and I must admit, I do have some sympathy here for the North Koreans. They don't have really any choice in this. Kim Jong-un, the dictator, told them to go here. They didn't even really tell them why they were going, and now they're just getting slaughtered on the front lines, and it's really not any fault of their own. So quite an unfortunate situation, but once again, again, it is a war, and Ukraine has to do what they have to do to keep winning the war, and they can't let the North Koreans get in the way of that. So it kind of is what it is, but unfortunate at the same time. But with that, we're jumping into our next post here, and this one goes to Ukrainska Pravda. And in addition to all the U.S. sanctions here, and speaking of U.S. sanctions, we are learning that Poland is stepping in, and Poland's about to cut Russian liquefied gas imports, meaning LNG or natural gas. They're about to cut them by 80% amid the sanctions, says Reuters. So a very big move by Poland here to actually cut down the Russian gas imports, and that will once again strangle the Russian economy to the point of the brink, and that could bring Russia to its knees bad enough to cause Putin to be ousted, or maybe to cause negotiations to actually go fairly for the Ukrainian side. So Poland is stepping up, but one person that is not stepping up here is apparently Europe as a whole, because we're hearing from Nexta that apparently the EU is buying record volumes of Russian natural gas, according to Politico, citing KPLR data. And I must admit, this is very disappointing to hear, because the US is going through great lengths to try to strangle the Russian economy, to bring them to their knees, and even China and India are not accepting any more gas imports from Russia either, and they're abiding by sanctions as well. But the EU is apparently exempt from that, and they're still buying record volumes of this Russian natural gas. And once again, like it says in the post, despite the cessation of the pipeline gas transit, which Ukraine just cut off going from Russia to Europe, the EU continues to buy Russian natural gas delivered by tankers from Russian ports. And at the same time, 95 to 96% of Russian gas comes to Europe from the Yamal plant. And according to analysts, in the first 15 days of 2025, 27 European countries imported a record 837,000 metric tons of LNG from Russia, and in the same period last year, it was 760,000 metric tons were imported. So not only are EU countries not withholding buying Russian oil, they're also increasing how much they're buying as well. So this is honestly stupidity, and those 27 European countries that are doing that are basically harming Ukraine by doing it. When they could buy their natural gas from elsewhere, it might cost a little bit extra, but what's it worth? Do they want to spend a little extra money or cause Ukraine to lose the war? But with that, folks, that is actually our last post of the day. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about the whole Romania situation, and also all the other news articles of the day. And also, before you go, smack the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, to stay up to date with the real-time updates about the news as it happens. And also, by the way, go down in the comments below and put Romania down there and let us know you watched the video to this point. And once again, thank you all for watching our videos. We appreciate the viewership. And also, if you want to support the channel financially, you can go check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description below for Patreon, where you can go over there and sign up for a monthly membership and support the channel that way, which is a massive help. And a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters for supporting the channel that way, and it does help to keep the lights on and the channel running. But with that, folks, be sure to join us tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern for our next Nightly War News stream. And with that, bye-bye for now.